Hello, welcome to term 2 of semester 1. This is week 1. If you're viewing this video, it's because you were absent on a synchronous day. So this is going to be our run through of what we did during our Zoom calls. So let me present here. All right. So again, welcome to term 2. I want to acknowledge, just like our check-in here, which character are you today, based off of their facial expressions and what you might be feeling. You did it. You survived term 1. There was definitely, at least for me personally, lots of ups and downs, but I think that we have a good system, and I'm hopeful that we'll continue on and continue with a growth mindset in trying to look at things from that perspective in terms of the rest of the school year, because we don't really know what lies ahead of us, but we're going to get through it together. So for our schedule this week, we are starting our argumentative writing unit, and we are going to be starting with some slides for our synchronous days. And for asynchronous, we have a syllogism sort activity. It is something that is going to be introduced on the second synchronous day, which means that for your first asynchronous day, you will not have anything because you won't know what to do with this until after the second synchronous day. So if you're concerned about that, email me and I can help you out. But let's get started. So we are starting an argumentative writing unit. And like I said last week, it's much different in comparison to our poetry unit, because poetry is way more along the lines of creativity and expressing yourself, and there are rules, but there's not a whole lot, and so you can really write how you want to. But argumentative writing is different. It requires different things. There's different structures to pay attention to. And so like I explained last week, some of us will prefer this unit over poetry. Some of us will not. I myself am still trying to work on getting out of that fixed mindset and thinking about what can I learn from this area of language arts. And the reason I have this Mark Twain quote up, "The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read," is because I want to remind us that having skills is one thing, but actually using those skills is a completely different thing. And so we want to give you the skills and the abilities and the knowledge that will allow you to use them in a way that's effective and just genuine and real in your real life. And this unit will absolutely do that. So why does this matter? Why are we doing an argumentative unit? Because we want to have the ability to identify others' reasoning and explain their logic. That would be through reading, and then writing of our own, the ability to reason through and write and explain your own logic. And then also, this is kind of like a specialized area in this unit we'll be looking at, is marketing, advertising, commercials, sponsorships, ads. We are going to kind of peel back this curtain and look behind the scenes and see what really goes on in terms of what kinds of tricks, what kinds of techniques are advertisers and marketers using to sell products, because that is something that is absolutely a part of our everyday life. It's going to be fun. And then also just to, in general, empower your voice and point of view, because if you have something that you want to say, we need to give you the skills to do that, to do it in a way that's powerful, in a way that's effective and efficient. So that's why we're doing this. And before we can really get down to just start writing, you always have to start with foundational knowledge. What do I need to know in order to continue on from here? Because it'll make things way more easy for you and for me. I mean, for everyone. This is how we should do it. So argumentative writing, we're going to look at these terms, and this is what I want you to do. You're going to see 2 slides, this one and the next one. I want you to right now pause this video, and I want you to, in these little boxes, you can edit them, define these terms to the best of your ability. Let me show you. So you're gonna literally just click in here and you can start typing. And I do not want you to go on Google and say, Google define bias, define conclusion, because that's I want to know what you know, not what Google knows. And if you don't know, if you're like, I'm not really sure what a syllogism is, you probably don't, and that's fine. Just say, I'm not really sure. But I want you to give your best effort in trying to tell me, what do you know right now? Because I'm sure that there's at least one of these things that you're familiar with or have heard before. So I want you to take the next couple minutes, pause this video, go in and edit this. Tell me, what do you think? How would you define these if you know what they are? There's another slide right here as well. So we have bias, conclusion, argument, evidence, elaboration, syllogism, statement, claim, persuasion, and counterclaim. So you're just going to go in and you're going to define all of these terms to the best of your ability. So go ahead and do that. All right. So we are going to look at all of these terms at some point, but today we're only going to focus on a few. So don't feel like I just wasted your time. We are going to go over each one of these definitions and examples, but today we're going to focus on just a couple. The first one being argument, because that's what we're looking at for this unit. So if I can make this definition the most simple, it would be this. An argument is a group of statements that leads to a conclusion. That is as simple as we can make it. So that's that. And I want to show you an illustration that I think will help, because sometimes we can get confused with certain words and think some of them are synonymous, meaning they mean the same thing, or they're interchangeable, or some of them are different. And I think this unit will help us have a solid understanding of what the terms are and what they actually mean and what it looks like in terms of writing. So an argument, again, is a group of statements that leads to a conclusion. And a good way to think about this is that, again, it's not one statement, it is a group of statements. Therefore, it's not the same thing as a thesis. I think we can kind of confuse those sometimes. So this is an image to help you. Everything in this box is an argument. This is the argument itself as a whole. Within the argument, inside of it, you have statements, but statements can look different depending on what you write in your statement. So for example, you can have a statement that's a claim. You can have a statement that's a counterclaim. You can have a statement that's evidence, elaboration, sources, another claim, things like that. So you need to think about an argument is not just one line where you're saying this is what I believe, or this is what I'm going to talk about. That's a thesis. That's not the argument itself. The argument is the entire chunk of writing, however long that is, and the statements are within it. So we said an argument is a group of statements, right? Whatever that looks like. And then when you look at all of them and you get to the end, it forces us to a conclusion. So this is a very helpful image to come back to, because I don't know about you, but I'm a very visual person, and so I would definitely come back to this if you kind of get a little bit mixed up with some of our terms. So now that we know an argument is a group of statements, not just one, and those statements can be different, they're not always the same, let's look at argument versus persuasion. I myself, as a student, have been taught in the past that these two words are kind of interchangeable, or they're like basically the same. But this is the analogy that I want to use because I think it's very helpful to describe the difference between the two, because they're not complete opposites, but they're definitely not the same thing. So an argument is cold. It is made up of passionless sentences that lead us to a passionless conclusion. Go from there. Persuasion is hot. It consists of tricks we use to make others care about that cold argument. So you cannot have persuasion without an argument. You always have to have an argument first. And again, just some more visuals for you. Argument's cold, persuasion's hot. Another way to think about this, tricks, think about this word as in like techniques. Like when we looked at our poetry unit, those tricks, we called them techniques. That was figurative language and devices and all those different examples that we looked at. So it's kind of the same idea in that all writing uses different techniques and tricks, things that you use in your actual writing, in the language itself, to do what you need to do within that genre. So persuasion is hot. It consists of the tricks or techniques that we use to make others care about that cold argument. And this is another way of thinking about the difference between the two. The argument creates the product, but the persuasion and rhetoric is kind of those techniques, sell the product. So if I showed you a picture of these earbuds that The Rock is wearing, and I just showed you a picture of just the earbuds, and I said, these work great, that is an argument. But looking at this post, best in quality sound, durability, and I made sure these babies were waterproof, engineered for the hardest workers in the gym, and you're seeing a picture of him using them as he's working out, that is persuasion. He's going beyond just saying these work great, and he's giving a personal testimonial about how he uses them and how much he loves them. Those are all techniques. So just saying, look at these earbuds, they work great, that is an argument. But persuasion is selling that product and saying, this is awesome, and this is why you need it, or this is why you should believe this. So I think we're not doing it this week, but our section about advertising and commercials is really going to be helpful in solidifying this idea of how argument is different than persuasion. So come back to the slide if you kind of get confused. It's a good one to remind ourselves. Okay, that was our first synchronous day. Now we're going to look at our second synchronous day. Oh boy, what is this? What the heck is this? Syllogism. This is a term that honestly I had to kind of reintroduce to myself in creating this unit. And a syllogism, if you were to Google what it means, it will give you kind of a hefty paragraph of a definition that is kind of more confusing than helpful. So this is going to be the best way to define this for us. A syllogism is statements that force us to accept a conclusion. So it's kind of a basic idea, a principle, a foundational building block, if you will, in terms of arguments. I would say that at the core of every single argument is some sort of syllogism. It's kind of the basic format of statements that force us to accept a conclusion. It's just a way to reason. And so to give you more context, I'm going to show you an example of what a syllogism looks like. Now you might have, I kind of changed it. This used to say Socrates, but I changed it to be more fun. So all men are mortal. Tom Holland is a man. Therefore, Tom Holland is mortal. This is a syllogism. It's 3 lines. It's very simple, and it forces us to look at this conclusion. All men are mortal. That's a statement. Tom Holland is a man. Another statement. Looking at those two, well, if all men are mortal and Tom Holland is a man, that means that Tom Holland is mortal because these are the same thing. And this is the format of this syllogism. All people or things in this category are blank. This particular person or thing is in this category. Therefore, this person or thing is a blank. This is an example of a syllogism template. It's one of the most common. And if this is still kind of fuzzy to understand, that's okay, because honestly, it's taken myself and Miss Hunt some time to get used to this, because at least for me, I'm more right brain than left brain person. So here is a visual to help. Look at this in forms of like a pyramid. All men are mortal. You start here. Tom Holland is a man. That leads us to our last position in this triangle. Therefore, Tom Holland is immortal. Is amortal, not immortal. So this is a very well-known syllogism. It would have said all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is immortal. But again, I just changed it to be more fun. So this is our first example, but we also have 2 more that we're going to be looking at. Either A or B. Not A, therefore B. If A, then B. A, therefore B. Just looking at this makes me want to yawn, to be honest, because it's a little dry and boring. But we have to look at this and understand it, because this, again, is the building blocks to argument. This is going to be when you kind of strip away all the fancy techniques and tricks and things that people use in their writing. this is what you will see. This is the basis of any argument. So we're going to do our best to try to identify, do what I did by highlighting by color. So we have some examples. So in your slides, this is what you need to do. You're going to read this, and you are going to identify by color coding which ones of these words are A or B. So either the Ducks or the Beavers will win the game. The Beavers lost, that means the Ducks won the game. So if you look at this, this is the template that this is based in, either A or B. Either, we even start off with that word. So you're going to go and you're going to look at this and you're going to try to identify which ones are color coded. So go ahead and do that. So if we look, either the Ducks or the Beavers, either A or B, okay? Ducks would be A, Beavers would be B. The Beavers lost, not A, so that means we would highlight this with the color B because it's saying the Ducks didn't lose, the Beavers did. That means the Ducks won the game, therefore B. Another example, you either wear your seatbelt or you don't ride in my car. You won't wear your seatbelt, then you won't be riding in my car. If A, then B, A, therefore B. So you're going to do the same thing. And this is our last one. All amphibians have webbed feet. Frogs have webbed feet, therefore frogs are amphibians. If you look at this, this is the same template as our Tom Holland example. So I want you to go through and highlight, and then that's all we have. This is the end of our slides. Our syllogism sort activity for asynchronous is not going to be posted right now. I'm still wrapping up putting that together. So if you're viewing this and it's the second day of synchronous days for you, make sure you reach out to me if you're going to be absent so that you can find out what you're going to be doing, or just go on Canvas. It'll be there at that point. But that is our intro into our argumentative writing unit. If you have any questions, please email me. Otherwise, I will see you the next time we have class.